Happy Christmas, and it is time for another edition of Tell Us How You're Mighty. Tracy Shawn, Sarah Gorrell, where we bring you some stories of what it's like to be cheated on, how you emerge triumphant from this. But actually today we are, I don't know about celebrating being the right word, but Tracy, Christmas is a particularly special time of year. All kinds of opportunities for some particularly dysfunctional antics, and we just felt we had to really mark this occasion.
Yes, holiday fuckwits. We have a collection. It was a deep bench.
What astounds me is that you expect to get some the usual kind of stories that go on at this kind of year. I mean, I'll just give you an example. I was reading an article in the paper the other day, and it was people saying when they knew that their marriage was over. And it was someone who was in her first year of marriage. She was newly married. It was all in the glory, wonderful new stage. And her husband presented her with a beautiful pair of shoes for her Christmas present. They were the wrong size. In fact, they were 2 sizes too small, and she couldn't quite work this out until she came across another beautifully wrapped pair of shoes in her size. And she realized that she was wearing the shoes that of her husband's affair partner. They'd obviously been meant for her as a gift. So he got the boxes the wrong way around. She was brilliant. What she did was she just swapped the shoes, put the right size on, and filed for divorce. That's classy.
That was really classy. Yeah. I should have hurled it as, I have so many thoughts, but they're so unoriginal. I mean, they give the same gift. How many times have I read that? That's unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable and yet believable, because
and showing that neither of you are really special to them. Not much thought goes into it.
And there's actually a great blues song by Bobby Blue Bland called That Did It, which was on my playlist when I got chumped. But it has this line that goes, "That did it. I saw you I saw you wearing the other man's shoes." I saw that man, essentially, that she had given him, her affair partner, his shoes, and he sees the man wearing his shoes, and that does it. He's done.
They are startlingly unoriginal, all of them, aren't they? But actually, some of them are quite original. I mean, in contention, hot contest for this particular award, we have got some staggering displays of originality and outstanding behavior in the realms of being totally narcissistic and unreasonable. Shall we start with the first one?
And now it's time for the Tell Me How You're Mighty Holiday Fuckwit of the Week.
My fuckwit hired an escort 6 days before Christmas. He had asked his retired mother to help us pay for our mortgage and then used that money to hire a woman named Holly. Very Christmassy. At the time, I was the only one working and I had already been handling the mortgage. So not sure why he felt the need to ask his retired mother, who is in her 70s, to give him money. But being the kind woman she is, she did. And then 2 days after he slept with the escort, he also slept with me and took me out on a date to show me how much he loves me. So, Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho! That's a holiday fuckwit.
I love that the escort's name was Holly. And it makes me wonder, first of all, that can't be her real name. And do they make up holiday names for all the sex workers? Like, this is Jingle Bell, or, I don't know.
I don't know. It's just, and then there's this sort of weird dynamic of borrowing money from your mum as well. And I do love the fact that quite often in these dysfunctional relationships, mothers play a key role.
They do. That's a good point. Well, because they're so immature, right? I mean, the fact that he's telling his mother that the money is for the mortgage and it's really for the sex worker is just, wow.
I think the problem with these is they just leave you speechless afterwards. You want to come up with something clever and to say, but there is nothing clever because the dysfunction speaks for itself.
Yeah, and also, I mean, just the cake eating, the fact that, he buys his sex worker, he bums money off his mother, and then he dresses up and takes her out for a date. it's Christmas. I get 2 helpings of everything. I get the sex worker, I get my wife, I get my mom to give me money. Maybe it's triple helpings. Like all the goodies for me. I mean, what is going on with these people? Like, what's in their brains? It's just, wow.
Can we top this kind of behavior to start off with?
I don't. I think Heather set the bar very high with her fuckwit, and I don't know if I don't know if we can top these, but let's try. Okay, the next one.
My husband had moved out and was actively pursuing his affair partner and traveling the world with her. In January, on New Year's Eve to be exact, I had to have a small surgery done, and he volunteered to take me to the surgery, even though he had been pretty much a vanisher and I had not seen or heard from him in months. I allowed him to take me to the surgery, and after the surgery, he drove me back home, and he got me settled on the couch and made a little nest for me. And then he proceeded to go back into our bedroom, and he got his sports jacket and dress shirt and a tie and his dress shoes and proceeded to get everything he needed to take her out for New Year's Eve. And he left me sitting on the couch to recover from my surgery all alone by myself on New Year's Eve and didn't even say Happy New Year's to me. Good riddance to him.
Ho, ho, ho! That's a holiday fuckwit.
This sounds like the worst New Year's Eve ever. It's bad enough to go through the holidays with health issues, and this poor woman has surgery, and it's the whole bait and switch, right? He's playing the part of the loving, caring partner, taking her home from the surgery and tucking her in and doing all the kind things, and then whammo, you know, he goes out on a date with his affair partner in front of her.
This is a common theme again, though, isn't it? That sometimes when people are at their most vulnerable, that's when these affairs seem to reach their dizzy heights, and there can sometimes be almost a delight in gadding around and getting ready to go out when somebody is so vulnerable and so ill.
Well, they're appliances and the appliance isn't working, and time to find an appliance that does work. It's sparkly and new. I mean, he probably was thinking what a splendid husband he was by tucking her in and picking her up. And, it's time to treat himself now. It's absolutely gobsmacking. But yeah, when you're vulnerable, and I would also say the holidays, I think a lot of D-Days happen at the holidays because it's hard to keep a double life going. There's pressures and they get revealed. But I also think holidays are a time of anticipation and expectation and a focus on family and gift giving and all these things that narcissists are terrible at. And so I think they behave especially appallingly. First of all, it's power because you're expecting a pretty present, or in this woman's case, decent behavior. And it's all the more powerful for them to crush your expectations, to withhold, to make you play the pick-me dance. So yeah, to your point, I think it is, there's an element of sadism to it.
I think it just highlights the lack of empathy, though, because any normal, rational human being would think, they kind of empathize with someone in that very vulnerable position. And they might think, do you know what, it might not be the best time for me to go out celebrating. But that empathy is just completely lacking. They cannot put themselves into someone else's position.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I'm sure he thought like that's the extent of his bandwidth. Like, I can pick you up from the hospital and take you home. Like, oh, I've really stretched here. I've given my best and now I have to go indulge. And yes, to a normal person, you would think they need me here. I'm going to spend my holiday sitting with you, watching movies or something as you recover from your surgery. That's what a loving partner would do, right? They're not out tripping the light fandango while you're recovering. Yeah. And yet, we have tons of these stories, and you had the 2 Christmas stories. I had I had really craptacular holidays. I I got a tie-dyed license plate cover for the Christmas after my D-Day. That was my great gift.
I'm quite impressed by that, to be honest. Is there any
Kidding.
reasoning that you might have been deemed to be someone that would want to receive? Had you expressed an interest in such items? Is
No,
there a tie-dyeing background that we don't know about? Maybe
not
something that you've.
at all. I he had this idea that I was a hippie chick. I don't, I'm not even going to deconstruct that, but okay. I confess I'm a little granola headed, and you wouldn't know that from reading my prose, but I'm a little peace loving granola. But tie dye, no, never. And also, I don't have things on my car. I don't have bling. I don't have dashboard ornaments. I don't have anything. So it's a particularly horrifically awful gift. But it's comic gold, right? I mean, the terrible, terrible presents you got, and maybe the other woman got a tie-dyed license plate cover too that year because they're not original.
Can you imagine if the two tie-dyed cars, they parked side by side? Suddenly you realize you draw up in the car park and you suddenly see someone else with this tie-dyed item, and you think, surely not.
Oh my
Surely there
God.
could be another one gifted such an item. It could be a way of identifying a fair
Yes.
part and other
Are
people.
you dating? And then you give his dating profile name. Yeah. We could form a support group. Did you
I
get
think
any really crappy gifts from your cheater?
well, he was always, to be honest, he was always particularly appalling at gift giving. So it's kind of difficult to put them into. They were just things that you just, gift sets, bath sets, the kind of things, those things at Christmas that you get, which are bath sets, and basically there's a scratchy sponge and there's all kinds of weird, unlikely stuff just
Yes.
put together in a box. And I sometimes wonder about these sets, about whether any of them ever actually get used, or whether they just get re-gifted and they end up going on a
Oh.
circular loop forevermore around school fairs and because nobody really wants them. It just shows a staggering level of not really bothered. And the other thing is when you have items where odd things are paired. So I don't know, you'll get
Hmm.
a scarf and a golf tee or something. Someone's put them in a gift box together. He was a master of that sort of stuff, because you can just pick it up on Christmas Eve off the shelves, and there we go.
It's just a jumble. And the golf tee. I mean, that's a real head scratcher. I'm like,
No,
did, did
you just think, well, my favorite one actually was a gift that I gave him, which kind of demonstrates what these people are like. So
mm,
he'd always wanted a Volkswagen Beetle, and
oh.
one year I managed to track one down and bought it, and left it parked by the side of the road, wrapped the key up,
You
and
are a Hallmark movie.
yes, it was a Hallmark movie moment. But the thing is, so I give this to him. He'd always wanted one. It ends up sitting in the drive, getting more. I mean, it started off in beautiful condition, and it ended up just being neglected until in the end I had to say, look, we're going to have to sell this because you're not looking after it. And I think
Mm.
that's actually quite a good analogy as well.
It's a great analogy.
Hey, they start off with something rather wonderful, and then they neglect it to the point that it rusts, and they're off in pursuit of a new, shiny, better car.
Oh my God. And also the lack of reciprocity. You get a scratchy, horrible old bath set, and he gets a brand new freaking car. I'm like, whoa, so lopsided, so messed up. His entitlement is just so assumed, right? All it's good to
It's
be
just the
king.
way I think a lot of people, if they probably look back, will see a theme sort of unfolding in Christmas. And actually, there's sort of another little example, because Christmas dinner, it's key, it's central to things, and that's another area where some of these antics can reach new dizzy heights.
Hi, Tracy. I was married for 24 years. Last year, after a period of gaslighting and stuff, I mean, I don't have to tell you, same procedure, different fuckwit. I found out that he was sleeping with a good friend of ours. And after that, her husband called me and told me that my friend had helped fuckwit getting over an affair with another very good long-year friend of mine. So not only had fuckwit cheated on me, I was betrayed by friend A, and I was also betrayed by friend B. In hindsight, I realized that in 2021, we hosted a Christmas dinner for our friends, and we invited over um, his current affair partner, friend A, his previous affair partner, friend B, and their spouses and kids. So I didn't know that I cooked dinner for 3 fuckwits and 3 chumps, and you wouldn't have known from their behavior that anything was wrong. To this day, I can't wrap my mind around this entitlement and shamelessness.
Ho, ho, ho! That's a holiday fuckwit.
Wow. I mean, talk about two of everything, but in this case, you have 2 affair partners at your Christmas dinner that you're unaware of that are affair partners. Ugh. I hate to say it, but that's also really common in chump stories is that you have somehow been of use to the affair partner as well as the cheater. You know, my husband did legal work for one of his ex-wife's affair partners unwittingly. It's like, yeah, you're of use. Can you cook a meal? Sure, come on over. And I think they must get, I don't know, duper's delight. They must get some kind of frisson
I
of
think it gives them a
danger.
bit of an extra thrill because for me, the idea of being in that environment is absolutely terrifying. You'd be on edge all the time, thinking, "Am I going to give myself away?" But I think they get a real extra thrill from that kind of scenario.
Oh, yeah. And for the cheater, too. I mean, if you have 2 affair partners, I mean, maybe they don't know about each other. I mean, he's got 3 women playing the pick me dance for him as he's feasting on whatever his Christmas dinner is. I mean, it is literally the pussy smorgasbord, as I call it. And wow. And not to mention, I mean, this is a whole other aspect of betrayal that I think the therapy industry leaves out is that it's not just the conspiracy, it's a conspiracy, right? It's not just that this person is sinned against you. It's that they've enlisted not just the affair partner, but other people who are in on it. So, you don't know what other guests are aware that he's a cheat or that there's something fishy going on. And it's awful. And then you discover these other betrayals. In this case, her friends were affair partners. I mean, it's just another layer of awful.
I think there's a kind of positive in all of this though, because I was
Mm.
talking to a divorce lawyer the other day, and he was telling me that January is the biggest time of the year where people do file for divorce, and that was when I filed for divorce. The affair had happened in August. I had spent from August to December involved in what you would call the pick me dance,
Mm.
with the crying, the weeping, the
Oh,
I will
yeah.
never, I cannot believe that I nearly gave up my marriage and all that going on. And it was only Christmas that it all really came to its height. And that was when I realized that he had Christmas not just with my family, but with her family, and had managed to conduct, had 2 separate Christmases.
Yeah.
And I'd sort of allowed, he told me he was needing to go off for Christmas afternoon to think
Lord.
about things, to process what had gone on. What he was really doing was tucking into the Christmas dinner with her family and opening presents around her tree. And I somehow found out about this in the new year, and that was it. That was
Yeah.
the time that divorce was filed for and a life was gained. And it might not have been easy, but it was the end of all of this.
Yeah, as it should be. Oh my God. And I like to think of perhaps that your ex is having a much diminished Christmas holiday season. Like that pleases me. I don't think he's getting Volkswagens and lovely cooked meals and 2 meals and 2 sets of gifts or whatever. These
It's
people
yeah,
tend to
it,
nosedive.
yeah, and they tend to attract similar sorts as well. So I believe that there's quite a lot of bickering and arguing goes on, and I would imagine Christmas sort of ramps that up as well. So I
Yeah.
would imagine not, but I think as you say, when you think about karma, the karma is that they get to live with their own life skills and their
Yeah.
own person and who they actually are, and I suppose the karma for us is not caring. Just thinking, I don't
That's
really
right.
care what they're up to.
Well, and the karma is that, you you win. You got the kids, you have the memories, you're the significant person. You show up in meaningful ways for the people you love. And that's winning. And they're the losers. It's really hard for anybody who's listening to this, who's, in the early days. It doesn't feel like it when you're going through it. The holidays are especially hard, I think, because everybody's, seems like they have the intact family or the glorious connections to people, and you feel very alone or very confused about your life at the moment.
Also, really, I tell you what I find really difficult, Tracy, is that, for years I would host Christmas. So his mother would arrive and I would do the lot, and I put myself out, went out my way to make sure everyone had a really wonderful time. And then when those people that you've spent a lot of your time, you don't necessarily want them staying in your house. You don't necessarily want to be cooking Christmas dinner for them, but you do it and you
Sure.
buy the gifts and you make sure that they're happy at Christmas, and you do that. You invest a lot of your time. And then their child has an affair, and you suddenly realize that the in-laws loyalty wasn't particularly great either. And because I remember my mother-in-law saying we must welcome this lovely young lady into the family, that was her
Oh,
response
Lord.
to her son having an affair. And there was no acknowledgement of the fact that, I already was in the family. I didn't want to be welcoming my replacement in. But so in lots of ways, there's once you move on, you not only move on from their behavior, but actually sometimes they're, because they get it from somewhere, don't they? So sometimes from their parents' behavior, the mother-in-law's behavior, the
Yeah.
people that provided so much negativity.
Yeah, well, you wonder where they learned that entitlement from. They raised the little princeling, and it sounds like a family of takers. And it is particularly awful, in a long-term relationship to realize that you don't have those bonds with people that you considered family. And I know a lot of people really have a hard time working through that. And divorce, unless you have, I mean, some people manage to do it, but most of the time, blood is thicker than water, and they side with the fuckwit, and you have a bunch of wasted Christmases to look back on, or I wouldn't say wasted, but you making those beautiful Christmases for everybody is an expression of who you are, and that you take that with you. You're a wonderful person. You would do that for anyone you love, and that makes you a stock that trades highly. And takers, not so much, not so much. And I think in life, if you're a giver, if you're a chump, I think your goal is to go find other givers and spend your holidays with people who value you and appreciate you. And that's
And
really
I
what.
think there's a positive to be had in this as well. And actually, our final story is a very positive one.
Yeah, okay, let's roll it.
I am mighty in the sense that for years when I was with ex-husband too, every single frickin' holiday was ruined by him and his theatrics and his illnesses. He left 8 years ago. And since then, I have reclaimed my joy of the holidays, especially Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is every year. I have my single mom friends and their kids here at my house, and we cook and we play games and we drink wine, and it's fabulous. Among other holidays like my birthday, I make sure to go out and celebrate and have a great time every year for my birthday because he always managed to ruin my birthdays. I am sustaining my own house. I am paying my own bills. I support myself and our 15-year-old autistic daughter out of my paycheck with little to no child support from him. And I am living my best life. Meanwhile, he's living with his mistress turned wife's in laws in the little room to the side, and he's miserable, and I'm thriving. You reclaim your joy eventually. I promise. Love you, chumps.
Way to be mighty.
Yeah, unsinkable Molly. I love her name. I love that she doesn't have horrible holidays anymore, and that she took it upon herself to create new traditions. Especially, I know you don't have Thanksgiving in England, but Thanksgiving is this it's very family focused, and Friendsgiving is fantastic. I mean, I remember Friendsgivings from when I was single, and they were great fun. And one person doesn't have to do all the cooking, which is great.
And actually, but it's kind of it's the whole story is it's it sort of demonstrates that life is better when you focus your attention on people that will make you feel good about yourself, as opposed to people who are on this constant path of destruction and deceit.
Yeah, and who don't appreciate your gifts. I mean, literally, not just your physical, tangible gifts, but your everything you bring to a relationship and the wonderfulness that is you. The fact that, Molly's ex-husband did everything in his power to make holidays about him and his unhappiness and his complaints, and God, that's such a drag. Who wants to be around that? And she persevered until she didn't. And what a liberation, right? To not have to deal with that crap. Good for you, Molly. And I love that she gives a little pep talk to everybody at the end too.
I think there's a really strong message there, though. It's true. You think you spend your whole life thinking you can change someone and change their behavior, and that they will be better if you just keep at it. But sometimes there's time just to go. No, it's time to walk away.
Yeah, go have your better Thanksgiving without them. Go, enjoy Christmas dinner without affair partners at the table. Go have a happy holiday. Hey, that wraps this season of Tell Me How You're Mighty. We're going to be back on Tuesday, January 16th with season 2, and our first guest is going to be Shani Silver, the author of A Single Revolution. So I hope to see you back then. We're going to take a little break for the holidays, but meanwhile, stay mighty.